Almost 2,500 years ago, India witnessed a lot of religious activities. There were many philosophies, philosophers, and different school of thoughts. We all know that in around 600 BC, there were two great religions founded in India. One was Jainism, founded by Mahavira. The second was Buddhism by Gautama Buddha. During those time, there was yet another very famous religion called Asivagam. In English, we call it as Ajivikas. The leader of the sect was known as Markali Gosala. Here is a story that Markali Gosala tells Ananda. Before getting into the story, let's look at some details about Ajivikas. Only very few historians have done research about Ajivikas. There is a famous cave donated by Ashoka in the Barabar Hills in Bihar dedicated to the Ajivikas. These historians know very little about Ajivikas or Markali Kosala. It was A.L.Basham who wrote a famous book called Ajivikas, the Vanquished Religion of Ancient India. We come to know about this sect called Ajivikas, in Tamil Asivagam. In his book, he says that though this religion was an old in northern India and it was still practiced till the 14th century down south, especially in Tamil Nadu, and he has referred many Tamil literature in the connection with Asivagam. This book was written in the year 1951, and after that, there was no one who could do research on this subject. Later, some 30 years ago, a noted research scholar from Tamil Nadu, Mr. K.Nedunchezhiyan, who want to do a research on Lokayata, that is materialism, which many northerners consider that Lokayata came from the southern part of India. On doing this research and gathering materials, he stumbled upon Asivagam and continued his research on Asivagam. And later, with 30 years of effort, he could establish that the founders of Asivagam is of Tamil origin. And Markali Kosalar must have been a Tamil who was born near Trichy. And there is a temple near Tiruchi. The name of the place is Tirupidavur. So, in this background, we know very little about Markali Kosala. Though there is a book which people call its Asevagam book, that book also is lost. So, we don't have any idea about Markali Kosala. The Buddhist and the Jainist quote many of the instances of Markali Kosala. They say that Markali Kosalar and Mahavira were together for almost 6 years and they parted ways, and there were a lot of enmity between them and their disciples. And Makali Kosalar was staying in Savati in a potter's house, and that time even some of the disciples of Mahavira used to visit him. In one occasion, Mahavira's disciple Ananda visits Markali Kosalar, and Markali Kosalar tells him this story. Let's listen to this story. This is what Kosala tells Ananda. Once upon a time, in good olden days, some merchants were passing through a forest with wagons and goods. After a while, they exhausted their supply of water and they could find no fresh supply. At last, they discovered a large fourfold ant hill. Opening the first part of the ant hill, they obtained an abundant supply of water. When they opened the second part, they got huge quantity of silver. And from the third part, they got a heap of jewels. Before they had set about opening the fourth part, in which they expected to find some ivory, one of the men who was thoughtful recommended not opening any more and to let these three parts be enough, for the fourth might possibly bring them some evil. The others did not follow his advice and they started opening the fourth part. When they opened it, they met with a large or huge serpent of a terrifying aspect. And through the fire of its eyes, all the men were at once burnt up, with the exception of the one who had given the advice, who now, through the favor of the goddess, that is the serpent, returned home safe and was provided with riches. So, this was the story Markali Gosala seemed to have narrated to Ananda. In this, he says that Mahavira has obtained the merit of asceticism. That is the in reference with the first part, that an abundant supply of water that they got. And the second is the silver, which he refers to the great fame of Mahavira. And the third is the jewels, which Markali Kosala refers to the many adherents among men as well as gods who are the followers of Mahavira. I will burn him up by means of my magical powers. That is what he says. If Mahavira should stop with that, already he has got his merit of asceticism, he has obtained great fame, and he has got many followers. Still, he meddles with me, I will burn him into ashes. That is the story of and the style of Makali Kosala, who told Ananda this story. If you see the Buddhist scriptures, especially the Jataka stories, all the stories will follow the similar style of storytelling of Markali Kosala. This story has been told both in the Buddhist scripture and the Jaina scripture, and for it looks like it is the story told by Makali Kosala. Hope you enjoyed the story. Thank you.